Guys, welcome back. Welcome to the Closer's Playbook interview podcast. I don't know if I can call it a podcast yet, but that is the intention. That's the ultimate goal. Really just unscripted conversations with people from all over the world, from different walks of life, different beliefs, different cultures, different ethnicities, whatever we can do, right? And the goal, as you know, is to let the listeners hear about these patterns of success with the world's top 1%ers. Let's get started. Let's start with something simple. I've got one of my best friends here, Brad Bellard. I know this guy. I mean, this guy is the OG. He does one of the best friends, which is incredible. I don't even know how I get to call this guy one of my best friends. But let's tell the people who you are and what you do. If you want to talk about, and then we'll go into some of the other stuff. But let's just start with those.
Yeah. So first, as you mentioned, I'm a friend, man. I mean, we've been best friends. We've been entrepreneurial stuff and just all kind of crazy
13 years, 14 years, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We've at least hit a decade.
Yeah, no, for sure, at least a decade.
What I do is a profession, so I work as a sports medicine physician. Been doing that for a little more than 15 years now. Started my career in Dallas, where I was one of the assistant team physicians for the Mavs and was blessed to build a successful clinic there, but relocated here, just a great opportunity. Maybe we can get into it later, but through some great relationships that I've built, got invited to come here and really build a new clinic, which is going fantastic. And so here I've got a couple of roles as a sports medicine physician. So the clinic that I work at, we are the primary team physicians for the Denver Broncos. And then in addition to what I do clinically there, I serve as medical director of a large sports medicine and performance center in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
We see athletes of all ranges, work on things like longevity, health span, a lot of unique and cool things that are kind of trending in terms of health right now. So I also serve as a CEO and founder of a company called Cardio Bridge, where me and two other physicians, we work to try and bridge the gap in terms of bringing medical innovation to underserved areas. Me and those physicians are working on a new project to potentially do some consulting for primary care offices to really kind of help turn their clinics around, make them more profitable, and make them more in line with kind of where healthcare is going, which is more kind of preventative and trying to stop diseases as opposed to waiting for them to happen.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
And then,
well, dude, that's great to hear about. First time hearing about some of these things, which is
awesome. This is all side stuff. We're always tinkering and working with some stuff. So
it's got we got the main hustle, we got the side hustle, then we got the sub side hustle. Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, we got all of that. So, well, good. Let's talk about origin story, because that's a huge part for anybody, and it's interesting. I was talking to the very first person I interviewed for this podcast. We're sitting there talking, and I'm live. The whole point of this is just being real, being unscripted. Yeah. I had my premium ChatGPT open, and I'm like, what does it take to be a top 1%er in America? All it is, and I say all it is, I don't say that lightly, but you have to have $1.1 million net worth in totality. Mm-hmm. I guess to some people, it's way up there, but the origin story is so important. Like, so talk to us a little bit about,
So I grew up in H-Town, man. So
H-Town. For those that don't know.
Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. Texas, Hustle Town.
Yeah, exactly.
For those who are from there, it might be Humid Town. That might be what the H stands for. But yeah, no, born and raised Houston, Texas. Probably lower middle class home. Dad worked hard. He was a bus driver.
Okay.
Kind of worked his way up through the public transportation system, and then over time became like a manager, supervisor kind of thing. So I can remember him going from, almost kind of uniform to wearing suits and managing more people over time.
Okay.
And then my mom she was a bank teller, again, hard worker. She was the one that really had this entrepreneurial sense about her. She wrote a children's book when we were younger.
Oh, okay.
She wrote a book on how to put on makeup. And I remember going to this like live launch of her book when I was like, maybe 5 or 6 years old, because she was just like me working in the bank is not it. And she was always kind of thinking about something, even up to recently, she had a little boutique at a flea market. Like, she's the one that's got that
Very cool.
entrepreneurial spirit, and really is like the typical traditional job is for me. Not that that's bad at all.
Right.
But, you know, that was where I think I got some of that itch from. And then I had two older brothers, man, who were athletes. And really, I guess if I was to sum it up, man, I mean, my upbringing was good in that I had two, you know, loving parents. I had two older brothers to learn from their mistakes.
Right.
So
you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest of three.
Okay.
So, you know, I got picked on, you know, particularly by my middle brother. They really encouraged me because of some of the mistakes that they made. They were like, look, man, you can't make some of these same mistakes that we made, whether it was in sports or in school or whatever. So I really felt like they kind of took me under their wing, you know what I'm saying, to help me. And I would probably say between my brothers and my parents, and just some of the relationships that I you know, when I was younger, a common theme as I look back is that people have far more belief in myself in me than I ever really had in myself.
Right.
And I'm extremely grateful for that, Jesse, because most people don't have that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And without these people who had a belief in me and pushed me to do something that I either didn't want to do or didn't believe I could do, I probably just would have settled for, I guess, what most people would consider to be
status quo,
yeah. or less than what we can do,
right?
And not trying to fulfill some level of potential. And even to some degree now, man, I mean, that still kind of sticks around. I talk about ideas and stuff like that. People even do that, and I'm like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But that's really what it was, and that folks were pushing me to do things early that I probably fought with, but eventually did, and I'm glad that they did.
Yeah.
Because they saw something way more than I ever did myself.
That's huge. I know I've talked to, you know, my followers a little bit about that too, but like, you know, I've had those mentors, we've talked about that. I mean, most of my best friends are way older than me. I don't know, I just always have had those kind of mentor figures.
Yeah.
You know, and you think, obviously seeing your dad working hard, your mom kind of having this entrepreneurial mindset, do you think that there was a seed that was planted there, a spark that was born?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember a time in your life where you thought to yourself, like, I'm gonna make moves, you know,
yeah,
whatever?
It's funny you asked that. So, like, I saw the value of work ethic.
Right.
I could tell you that when I was younger, I worked hard, but the example was set. So I saw what it looked like, even if, and I'm saying this right now, partly because I have a son now. You know, I've got two sons. I mean, I've got three children.
Yeah.
Wife and I have been married for 21 years, married my high school.
Congrats.
Right. Yeah.
Congrats on that.
And three kids. As I'm in that role as a father now, like, it's so important for me to show what consistency looks like, what work ethic looks like, because even though my son may not understand it or do it right now, I can remember my parents being like, are you going to take out the trash? Do we have to keep telling you, kind of thing? But it set something.
Yeah.
It set a standard that, even though I may not have practiced it when I was younger, as I got older, it was certainly a standard. So yeah, absolutely. It gave me a work ethic. And again, environment is so important, man, because I watched my dad work. I watched my mom work. I watched my mom work out. I watched my brothers work out. Like, all these things just kind of, I inherited.
Right.
Without trying to just say, like, oh man, I'm going to do this. I just kind of inherited it.
Right.
So I did not know what I wanted to do when I was younger. Ironically enough, I remember telling my mom, like, there's no way I'm going to be a doctor because they go to school for too long. But like I mentioned,
right.
Yeah, and then I ended up doing it.
Yeah, you're like, nah. Isn't that funny how that goes?
Yeah, isn't that funny how that works? I remember telling my now wife, then girlfriend, I was just like, I need you to understand, I'm not average. And I'm not going to do something average. I really don't know what that's going to be. Now, at the time, it was supposed to be playing in the National Basketball Association. Just
okay.
I was a hooper. I could play basketball. It was pretty decent.
Okay.
The way I got into sports medicine is because I got injured and ended up seeing one of the team docs for the Houston Rockets who did surgery on my knee at a young age. But it was NBA or bust. And I probably had one of, if not the best work ethic on just about every basketball team that I played on.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was going to be,
sure,
but I knew it was going to be something that was going to have impact.
And it's almost like when you say those words and you really believe them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're whatever you believe in. Obviously, Brad and I, we have the same belief system, but You know, I know some people listening maybe don't believe in God, whatever, but
Sure.
but even still, put something out there in the universe, whether you're talking to God or you're talking to whatever. But I'm not going to be average. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something more than average. I'm not going to be average.
Right.
That's part of it. That's part of not being average. Is
Yeah.
telling yourself and other people that you're
Yeah.
not going, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do whatever that may be, right?
But consider this, Jesse. I mean, we grew up, like I said, lower middle class family,
Right.
and that's my perspective. If you ask my wife, she's like, I don't know what you mean lower middle class. Like, you grew up in the hood. Like she's like, you grew up in. I'm like, we grew up in like similar type areas. She's like, no, you was in the hood. So some people may say,
Yeah.
whatever. But regardless, one of the things that my parents were very serious about is they were like, look, you're gonna get exposed to more than just where we are. So the way Houston's set up is if you do well academically, you can get in the magnet program. You can go to school in a different area. So Jesse, where I grew up, I didn't really see what I think most people would consider like success. But dude, when I left elementary school and I went to middle school in Memorial across town,
Right.
I would take the bus and we would drive past houses that I was like, hold up, this exists? So it immediately expands my brain because I'm like, I don't see this every day. This exists? Really? And then I would develop a friend who'd be like, hey, come to my birthday party. I'm going to his party and we're seeing like a completely different deal. I see the Galleria in Houston. I'm like, dude, there's a complete other world out here. And then the same thing happened in high school. I went to high school in one of the richest areas in Houston called River Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
Not from River Oaks.
Right.
Bus to River Oaks. And you get exposed to different. And that's when I was like, I might be from over here, but I'm going to do something that's beyond this area because I got exposed to seeing something more.
Yeah.
That's big. And I can't take credit for that, dude. Like, again, you talking about our belief in God. Like, I just believe he had a plan for me, at least, you know, that I would be exposed to something else. And that expansion of what I thought could have been, was possible started at least at that age. So I was like, somebody figured it out to have this kind of life.
Yes.
So it's possible. I'm gonna figure it out somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I tell people this, similar things like this a lot, but it's one thing to be exposed to something. It's another thing to take that thing that you're exposed to and look into it, find out about it, you know, start going, how do I do this? How do I have that? How do I be that? How do I go there? You know, whatever it is. And so you're exposed to it. Now you have the knowledge of it, but then some people miss the next step, which is really you got to do some sort of application of the knowledge, right? You got to take it, you know, it's those thoughts that start forming. Because to your point, if you got stuck where you grew up, you may have never been exposed to these things. Therefore, your mind's not thinking this way. Therefore, you're not looking into these things. Therefore, and then some people stop right there. They're exposed to it, they look into it, but then they never apply anything.
Right. Or they may see it and say, that's not for me.
Exactly.
That's a cool thing, but
they just disqualify themselves.
Yeah. So again, I just had some folks who believed in me. So I just remember thinking like, I'm not even thinking how. I just know at some point it's gonna be more than what it was the way I grew up. Not that was horrible. I think I just had a drive for more.
And I think one thing that everyone can kind of learn from this, and maybe this is good for especially people who have kids and whatnot, and if you're listening to this too, and it's like, maybe you are in the hood, maybe you are in that, you know, I mean, shoot, I grew up in the hood too. You know what I mean?
No doubt,
but exposure, you know, maybe just get your kids out there, let them see something else, let them make up their own mind, let them make up, you know, let them trudge their own path. Don't let that stinking thinking from generational past dictate their future, you know, because there's a lot of opportunity out there, and it needs to, you know.
There's nothing like an environmental shift to change how people think. Environmental shift will change some things for sure.
For sure. All right, well, let's talk about what was like the first time you made real money. Maybe the first time where you're going, okay, the juice was worth the squeeze, or, you know, not I've made it, but I'm on my way. Or
yeah. I mean, you got to imagine, man. I mean, you know, I went from what my wife considers the hood, right, to you know, working. And I mean, I worked I worked as a host in a restaurant. In college, I worked as a waiter. I sold men's shirts and ties at Dillard's. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So
Yeah.
I mean, these were just jobs, right? You know, made a little bit of money then, but I'm not really making what I had aspired to. Now, eventually, I said, okay, I'm going to become a physician once I got to college. I was basically a career student for a while. I mean, you're not really seeing much,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and the rigor of when you get to medical school, I mean, to do something else at that time, you know, you just got to focus on school.
Right.
You know, high school all the way to late 20s. So I graduated college at 21, 22. Then there's another 4 years of med school. So that's, I'm now, you know, 25, 26, and there's another 3 years of residency. So we're talking about late 20s, right?
So you're talking 4 years of college,
Yep.
4 additional years of med school, and then 3 years of residency. So you're talking really 11 years.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a pivotal, and I'm gonna come back to this, but there was a lecture that I got from a radiologist about finance, which is kind of interesting, but played a pivotal role in my life. You know, I'm finished training and now it's time to start working. So you go from one day, you know, as a resident, dude, you get paid, it's less than minimum wage. I mean, because you're working so many hours. Yes, you get probably paid a little more than a teacher's salary, but the amount of hours you're putting in, it's unreal.
Yeah.
So it really comes out to less than minimum wage when
Wow.
it comes down to it. So you go from that to literally the very next day, you know, when you finally get a job, making multiple six figures.
Right.
And like, that was when I was like, oh wow, like things have definitely changed.
Interesting.
And it was a immediate shift. There was never a gradual. It was like an immediate shift. Now going back real quick, I can just remember I was a 4th-year med student. We had a radiology rotation, and this guy was first day of radiology rotation. He says, "Hey, listen, I come here to teach you because I like to, not because I have to." He says, "I'm financially independent. I do what I want when I want, but I like teaching, so that's why I come here and do that." He said, "If you want to have that type of lifestyle, I've Xerox copied the front of several books. I suggest you read them. This is the last time I'm going to talk about this." And literally, that's what he said. And then the rest of the radiology rotation was just radiology. And when he said that, dude, I was glued to every single word that he said.
Yeah.
One of the books that was there was called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. It's a dual author, Thomas Stanley and I can't remember the other guy's name. Extraordinary book.
Great book.
It set the tone for me for some financial literacy.
Yeah.
Really just the foundations of how to save money, how to live below your means, and
Right.
you know, all those things. We started that early, even with just the little money that we had. My wife and I, she was working as a teacher and I was a resident. So when we first got, you know, we started getting paid, we were like, oh, cool. We really know what to do now.
Right.
But that was really the first taste of like, oh wow, things have immediately shifted.
I don't know if you'll have an answer for this question, or I'm sitting here thinking, like, is the system a little bit broken? Kind of like the health, like how to become a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You're spending basically 8 to 11 years of your life starving, scrounging, and maybe that's a part of it. And then, but that instantaneous jump to multiple six figures.
Yeah.
It seems like not dangerous, but like it seems like no one's equipped you for it. Like what's in between that? Like, you know, is there?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a similar situation is what happens with athletes, right?
Right.
It's a little bit different now because of this whole NIL and stuff like that. They can start earning money, you know, even in high school. But kind of the traditional, like, hey, I didn't have a lot of money. I signed my first contract and I'm making millions, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I don't want to derail this.
No.
I'm just sitting here thinking as you're talking about that, I'm like.
But this is the reason why I brought up that financial conversation.
Yeah.
Was that I was blessed to, again, be exposed to a conversation that I didn't know about, wasn't aware of. My parents never taught me how to manage and handle money.
Right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, so with just that little bit of knowledge, it helped me be equipped to be like, oh, I'm not just going to go start buying a car and, you know, wilding out, balling out, whatever. Right? I was just like, okay, there's some things we got to do, that we got to get set up first. But you're right, dude. I mean, it doesn't equip us, and physicians are not immune to the same things that happen to anyone else. As a matter of fact, which is bad, if not worse, in terms of, okay, yes, you have a high earning potential, but they also got a high spending potential.
Right.
And so if you're spending everything you earn, you can't build wealth.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of physicians struggle with that exact problem.
Let's talk about, patterns. Let's talk about mindset. Let's talk about, obviously, we've heard, the exposure's key, and, and there's been different ways and things. I think a key part that we haven't said yet that is so important and so vital is you have to be open to hearing those things when you're exposed to them.
Yeah.
Some people are so just for no reason at all, just so focused on whatever it is. And that could be things that their parents told them or grandparents or whatever, the way they were raised, where they grew up, blah, blah, blah. They're closed-minded and closed-hearted. And, what do you think made the difference in your life for you to be open-minded and listen, open to hearing and that maybe some people don't?
I think it's being curious, man. I mean, I think you got to be curious. I think for some people that may not come natural, but here's what I knew, Jesse. I wasn't where I wanted to be. Other people were.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you have the keys, if you have the secret, I want to know it. It doesn't help me at all to think that I know it and I don't have it.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, I don't know it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or else I'd have it.
Yeah,
exactly. Or be in the process of having it. And I was just like, this dude just talked about he's financially independent, he does what he wants, when he wants. Like I was like, I don't have that. I don't have a plan for that. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Yes, I want to know. And so I think, man, at the end of the day, sometimes what meets us and what stops us, quite honestly, is pride. It's just not wanting to admit we don't know it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, that just gets in the way, man, of it's like my son, man. I'm telling my son all the time, like, the 3 words I hate is, I know that. I know that, Dad. Okay, that's fine. I don't think you know it, because if you knew it, the situation would be different. Right. Just being open to understanding that if this is something you want and you don't currently have it, it's not going to hurt to just put the pride aside.
Yeah.
And say, listen.
For sure. What do you think most people misunderstand about success that maybe prevents them from wanting to be successful, maybe never drives them that direction? What's something in your mind coming from not being successful or, to being where you are now?
Yeah.
What do you think something that,
Well, first, I think you got to define success.
Right. That's true.
You got to define what success is going to be for you.
That's absolutely true.
And here's what's crazy, Jesse. My definition of success has shifted over time. I mean, we talked about this. Like, there was a time when it was strictly monetary for me. Yep. It was strictly achievement based, whether I succeeded or not. And that came at a cost, man. I mean, I think, for me, a certain monetary success that I was trying to achieve come hell or high water came at the cost of a lot. It came at the cost of my relationships at home, my marriage, my relationship with my kids and friends. I mean, it came at too much of a cost for what I originally defined as a certain level of monetary success.
Right.
So I think what prevents people is you got to define it, because you won't know if you achieved it if you don't define it.
That's very true.
And you got to define what's important to you. There's really kind of the nuance between that is defining what success is to you, and then setting a goal that most people just don't set a goal.
Right.
You can't hit a target if you don't have one.
Yeah.
You cannot hit something that you'll never know whether you got there. Hey, I just want to make some money. How much?
Much money. Yeah.
By what time? Right? To have a target to hit. So I think you got to define what's important to you, and then you set goals. I think those are at least a couple of things that probably prevent people from achieving, whatever they're going to define success at.
No, for sure.
Like for me now, Jesse,
yeah,
success for me is in multiple areas of my life, and I call them pillars. Right. Because if I'm successful monetarily and my relationships are crap, that is not success.
Right.
If I'm not fulfilled, Tony Robbins has a great quote. I can't say that I agree with everything he says, but this I certainly agree with. He said, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Right. So that means achieving you achieve something, but it came at too much of a cost, so it's unfulfilled. Like, it's like climbing Mount Everest, spending all your time, life, effort to climb Mount Everest, and it's not nearly what you thought it would be. Right. And I've had some of that.
Oh yeah.
I've had some of that happen, right?
Oh yeah.
Or like some people talk about put your ladder on the wrong, you climb the ladder only to realize like, oh man,
You leaned it.
I landed on the wrong
Leaned it. Yeah.
buildings or whatever.
Exactly.
My spiritual life is extremely important. So being able to have an extraordinary relationship with God was foundational for me. Radically changed my life in all areas. My health is important. My relationship with my wife and children and friends is important. My work, like all these things I have set goals in.
Right.
So success is really comprehensive for me to include all those things.
Right.
I'm not perfect at them, but I certainly do my best to continue to achieve the goals that I've set in those things. And it's not strictly monetary for me anymore. I mean, I've been blessed and at this point in my life making more money than I ever had.
Sure.
I've made a lot of money and it came at way too great of a cost. And I've been happy and healthy even when I wasn't making that much money. Yeah. And I can tell you, it's comprehensive, dude. I mean, like
Right.
to me, it's multifaceted. I've got to be fulfilled, and ultimately, part of what I define as success is I feel like we all have some level of an assignment.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Again, I told you I believe in God. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe we have assignments and purposes of why we're here.
Right.
And to me, success is understanding your assignment and then fulfilling the assignment.
Right.
Because if I am doing something that is outside of my assignment, even though I killed it, to me, I'm still not successful.
Right.
I'm not doing what I was assigned to do. It would be no different than somebody in the military being given an order. They don't fulfill that order, but they do some other order extraordinary.
Right.
You go back to the general or whoever is the commanding officer. He says, did you do what I asked you to do? Well, no, but I did this thing awesome. I killed him. Were you successful at doing what you were supposed to do?
Right.
No.
Right.
And usually that will pop up in the form of either being unfulfilled or things coming at a certain cost.
Right. That's good. I mean, and it's interesting that it's really those are the principles. Those are really, you've got to define success. Then you have to set goals.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to actually go put that to work and go try to get those goals achieved.
Yeah.
And that's not it. Because once you've got where those goals are achieved, then you need to go back and redefine success.
Yeah.
Once you get to that next step, typically it's opened up your mind, it's opened up your thinking to more.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good stuff for sure. You've already talked a little bit about, what success costs you, the good, the bad, and the sacrifice relationship. How do we avoid that? It's like, because I've been in that same boat.
Yeah, man.
Part of me thinks it may be unavoidable. Part of me is like, I think every successful person I've talked to so far tells me about these peaks and these valleys that they've been in.
Yeah.
And they talk about how, man, I neglected my wife, I neglected my kids, I neglected friendships or whatever. And sometimes it's different for other people, but it's almost like you have to be at those points because you learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
I haven't met somebody yet who's ultra successful who says, this just went perfect the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, so to tell the story, man, basically what happened was this, is I started practicing medicine. I got out of training. And within a few years, man, I was working hard. I was working as an ER doctor, and I was working as a sports medicine physician. I had a side hustle, was doing some network marketing, some mental health marketing at the time, which we were doing, decently well. But I had a lot on my plate, and I just remember going to work. And the more I went to work, I was just like, dude, like, I'm not happy.
Right.
Like, I'm not happy. And the best word I can describe is I was unfulfilled. I was working hard, I was making good money, a nice house, we were doing well. I remember looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not the person I want to be. I just remember asking myself this question: how did I spend so much time, money, energy, and effort to get to where I wanted to go, only to get there and realize it's not what I thought it was going to be?
Right.
You can only imagine what that feels like to put so much effort and time into something to get there and it's not fulfilling.
For sure.
I just remember asking myself, like, is this it? Like, is this all that I have to look forward to?
Right.
There's got to be something else. There's got to be more. You know what I mean? That was just a dark place. At the time, I just didn't have a good relation. I did not have a relationship with God.
Right.
I was this churchgoer who had no relationship with God. So therefore, my relationships with my wife, with my kids, it just wasn't. I wasn't the person I wanted to be, even though I had achieved some of the things that I wanted to achieve. And getting to that place, I think I needed to get to that place to have at least an awareness, like there's got to be something different. We got to figure something out here.
Right.
And I don't know if I would have placed that much importance on developing personally, developing spiritually, until I got to a place to where I recognized that it was a need in my life.
Right.
I didn't know how important it was until it got to a point to where it was like it was bad. You see
It's
what I'm
like
saying?
it's the pain and the discomfort of it not being what you wanted caused you to go get what you want.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right in that. I don't want to say it's inevitable, but it certainly seems to be a common path.
Right.
That somebody says, yeah, I mean, we just got to change some things. Put it this way: sometimes it's got to hurt bad enough to really move.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and it just got to the point where it hurt bad enough to where I was like, I gotta figure it out. I never thought about it that way, but maybe it is just part of the journey, man. I mean,
That's what I'm learning so much through this. That's what I love about this.
Yeah.
Like I could never get, even if I stay at like 20 followers like I have right now, whatever it is, on YouTube, like I'm just having so much fun actually with this, and I'm learning, so much, and I'm engaging with these people that are way wealthier than me, and the stories are similar, and I'm hearing these caveats and these different things, but it all kind of melts back together into like a Venn diagram of success and those things. But
I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds weird. I'm grateful for the dark times, man, because it got me moving. It got me realizing, and I just wouldn't. And I tell my wife this sometimes. I'm like, listen, for the kids to develop this relationship that I've been able to have with God, and some of the significant relationships I have in my life now, it took me realizing how poor of a friend I was, how strayed away of a son of God that I was, to realize like, okay, I've gotta change it. And sometimes you can't see it until you get to that point, man, to where it hurts bad enough where you gotta change. It's like the person who recognizes like, oh, I gotta do something after they have a heart attack or after
Right.
something
Yeah.
happens. You know what I mean? And you're just grateful that it hopefully didn't come at too much of a cost that you can, start shifting some things. But like those things are so valuable to me now, man, because had I not gotten to that place, I would have been like, I gotta do something different, and create some new habits that set me being like truly happy and fulfilled.
Right. It's interesting. I think you've created as we've been talking here, because we're talking about, in order to go after success, you have to define success. Then we were shifting a second ago. You were talking about happiness. You were saying you weren't happy.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here. I wrote some notes down. It kind of goes for anything in life. If you're not happy, or if you're overweight, or if you don't have enough money, or whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
define that thing.
Yeah.
Define happiness. Define success. Define whatever it is. Fill in the blank. Then create a plan.
Yeah.
Surrounding how are you going to change that? How are you going to become happy?
Yeah.
What's going to make you happy?
Yeah.
What's going to make you successful, etc. And then execute on it.
Yeah.
Plan it.
Yeah.
That's very simple. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
as I'm sitting here, like I'm sitting here breaking down as you're talking about success and then defining success, happiness, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is this it? Is this the key to life? Define, plan, execute. Like,
Well,
from the
yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Look. Again, man, I can't say I'm the smartest person in the world. I've got good people who poured into me, and I've been blessed, and through the grace of God, I've been in positions to learn. Sometimes not quickly.
yeah,
I got a hard head, man. I got a strong dome. I'll tell you this, Jesse. I figured out at no point in my life that my happiness and success was completely dependent on outcomes and circumstances in my life. Meaning,
yeah,
if I didn't win, I wasn't happy.
right,
And that's tough because you ain't gonna win all the time.
yeah,
No matter how hard you work. Let me tell you something. I don't care how hard you can work. And look, yes, I'm all about work ethic, but sometimes you do all you do and circumstances just don't happen. When I realized that my happiness and fulfillment was completely contingent upon my achievement,
right,
I was like, man, how can I be happy and satisfied, independent of the outcomes that happen in my life? And the only answer I came up with that I eventually figured out was when I can be happy with who I am, who God created me to be, period, and my satisfaction completely comes from that. Well, here's what happens. My cup is full just with who I am.
Right.
Okay? And now I'm not striving to win, to satisfy and validate something in myself. Now my work is truly service based, to where I may be seeing you as a physician, and some of my mind might be on where my goals are in terms of how many patients I need to see. Yeah. Well, think about it. If I'm seeing you from that lens as a physician,
right,
then you are part of my success in that I'm thinking more about my benefit than your benefit.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm looking at you as a step toward my success. But if I don't need anything from you and I'm fully satisfied with who I am as a person,
right,
I can serve you based on what you truly need. And when I serve you, and this is one of the things I want everybody to understand, is that's how you become successful. It's you serve your way to success.
Yeah.
It's about service.
Right.
And you can only serve at the purest and the highest level when you don't need something from someone else. When you don't need something from someone else, and you can purely just say, hey man, what can I do to help you? Like, I'm here for you.
Right.
Dude, life will shift completely. It will shift completely. It's, I wouldn't be married for 21, going on 22 years this year if I didn't learn how to serve my wife to have a successful marriage.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I understand the concept now.
Right.
If I'm walking in the house thinking like, what you gonna do for me? Or how come you haven't done for me?
Right.
When I'm looking at the things that I'm trying to get from you that I should be getting from God.
Right.
Right? Okay. But when I walk in and I think, okay, how can I help you?
Right.
Right.
And how was your day?
How was your day? Whatever the case may be. But like when it shifts, your behavior will shift more towards something that's service based as opposed to selfish based.
Right.
I've lived a lot of my life selfish.
Yeah.
Just
I think we all do.
Yeah. That was really one of the shifts, is just realizing like, look, man, I gotta get everything I can not from other people, not from food, not from achievement, not from anything else. If I get everything I get from God, well, now I've literally been empowered to go serve the best I can. My health now at this point, Jesse, is not about me, dude.
Right.
I go because I got kids. Like I said, I want to be around. Two, I want to show them what it's like, the example.
Yeah.
So me getting up and going doing that is not about me. It's about them now. So when you really start to think about life more from how can I serve others?
Yeah.
But you can't even serve others if you're not at least to some degree selfish of pouring into yourself. Understanding I got to have a full cup to pour into others.
Yeah.
One of the most selfish things that you could do is not take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Yeah. Serve your way to success. I love that. That's gonna be a little tagline.
That's my life's mantra, man. Service over self.
Yeah.
I gotta remind myself of that all the time, because I'll go back to the selfish Brad quick.
Well, I think we all are. If you can serve people, if you can cause a positive impact in somebody's life, you get to that point where giving is actually more fulfilling and better than receiving.
Yep.
That's a magical shift.
Yep.
That happened to me several years ago, and I know we're kind of but
yeah,
that's good stuff. We're getting close to the end here. I want to kind of just do some practical takeaways.
Yeah.
We've both been here before, but from your perspective, if and when someone gets stuck,
yeah, man,
and they will get stuck.
Yeah.
Funny thing, in order to get stuck, you actually have to be going somewhere. So, keep that in mind, guys. If you're like, oh, I've never been stuck, well, it's probably because you're not going anywhere. But but if and when you get stuck, what should someone do? How do they get unstuck? What?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I want to try to keep it as simple as possible, right?
Yeah.
I think you gotta move, and when I say move, part of what happens when we get stuck is, again, we're thinking inward. We're in terms of what's gonna happen to me. Why am I here? It's really a looking at yourself in the mirror so much that you're able to identify all these things that are wrong with you or that could potentially happen to you. So I think one of the shifts that can help that is serving. And when I say serving, I'm not saying go to a food kitchen. I'm not saying don't go to a food kitchen and go help and serve someone. I'm not. But when you look at the definition of serve, it says to help or aid someone. When you were like, hey, B, let's do this interview, my thought went initially to well, he's telling me how I can help. Yeah, let's do it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's helping. Try to do something that is going to help someone else. Because it is almost impossible to be focusing on someone else and helping them while at the same time be focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I think it is impossible. Doing that, you'll get something in return.
Yep.
I think, but it's just moving. I think that's one of the things in general. Something that I'm learning also, just from a scientific base in terms of evidence base, is exercise. I know it sounds like, oh, this guy's a doctor, so he's talking about exercise, but there's literally data to suggest that if someone is, and I'm not saying if you're stuck, you're clinically depressed, but that in depression, if somebody exercises, I'm not saying go and run a marathon or do something, even if it's a walk outside, just start moving, right?
Yeah.
It does something, and even when compared to antidepressants, it outperforms.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So moving, helping someone, and then again, I'm always going to go back to my spiritual root.
Yeah.
Because most of us, we just get deceived into thinking that whatever's happening is gonna be this way forever. It's or either the situation bad, or I'm bad, or I'm not good, or
Right.
and all these things couldn't be further from the truth. And so the more you can get the actual truth in you, the more you can, your beliefs will shape your behavior. So
Yeah.
if you believe the truth, your behaviors will shift. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do is just reach out to somebody, man.
Yeah.
At my worst, I reached out to a friend named Sean, and he just discipled me. I said, hey, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in my life right now. I need some help. I don't even know what's going on,
Right.
And I had to put my pride to the side because so many of us will suffer in silence and isolation, Jessica.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That it's just like no one can understand what I'm going through. There's no way I'm going to talk to somebody about this. And for me, I was like, I'm Dr. Brown, dude. Like, I'm supposed to have all my stuff in order. There's no way I'm telling people about my stuff. Eventually, it just hurt. So it hurt bad enough that I kept hearing that, like, gotta talk to somebody, gotta talk to somebody, gotta talk to somebody. Talking to Sean did everything, man. And again, I just had to swallow my pride.
Yeah.
If you're gonna convince yourself, you don't need to, that isolation is where you need to be at right now. But dude, if you could just force yourself to make a call, be like, hey, man, I just need some help. You can say, I don't know what it is, but somebody who can have that conversation with, do that. But eventually, I think the things that you would do to really be on that conversation would be to serve, to move.
Yeah. And move, you said you got to move, but now we're talking not just mentally, but physically too. You just move.
Yeah. The longer you stay down, the longer you stay down. Like if you ever watch football, I want you to watch how quick those guys pop up. Now, if they're down and it's like they're down, like, okay, yeah, they may be injured. There's times when they're injured, but they're still like, I got to get up.
Yeah.
I have to get up. The longer you stay down, the longer you will stay down. So at some point, there's just got to be a decision to be like, I got to go because I'm just going to stay down longer.
Right.
And that's what I learned is you got to break the cycle and just move.
I love it. This last segment, I'll leave it up to you. This is kind of what I've been doing is just right now. There's not that many people that are going to see this, but one day, hopefully,
for sure,
5,000, 10,000, 100,000, million people.
So many people as we can, for sure.
So what's something you'd love to tell these guys? What's something you'd like for people to hear? What's maybe it's something you live by. It's a mantra. It's wherever you want to go with this. No right or wrong answer. Maybe you're like, hey, I think we talked about enough. Let's go. Let's go eat dinner.
I think one of the things that prevents us from being the people that I believe we were created and called to be, which is typically more than we can ever imagine, is that we become too dependent on distractions becoming satisfactions. I'll give you an example. And when I say dependent, I mean dependent. Television, for example. We will become dependent on it for some level of satisfaction to get something that we want or need. We watch the show, it gives us this feeling or this emotion. And I'm a nerd when it comes to behavioral psychology, why people do what they do. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you this, people do what they do because it creates a feeling.
Yeah.
It creates a feeling or an emotion.
Yeah.
Whether it's a show, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a food, a meal, it doesn't matter. You may not even know why you do what you do. At the end of the day, it's giving you some sort of feeling or emotion that you like.
Right.
And we get these emotions and these feelings from distractions, and then we become dependent on them.
Right.
We become dependent on the show. We become dependent on the food. We become dependent on the relationship. Whatever the thing is,
Right. Right.
I would suggest that you can become stronger by breaking the dependence on the distractions that you have in your life. These distractions create satisfactions. And then we become so dependent on the satisfaction that now we need to continue to keep the distraction because it's giving us a feeling. And so look, we talk about addictions like, drugs and stuff like that it gives us a dopamine hit. But guys, we get dopamine hits and addicted to the distractions of life. That's it. Right. And so the more that we depend on those things for our satisfaction, the less and less that we'll be able to focus on the things that we're actually called and here to do. And I can tell you, as you begin to purge the dependence on these distractions and these satisfactions, you will gain more clarity. You will gain more confidence. Now, here's the deal. You got to replace it with something.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's the thing. The best thing you replace it with is God. I can't, like Jesse, I can't not tell people what the key is, because here's what's happened. I'll give you an example. Back in September, a few months ago, I found myself just snacking, man. I was snacking every other night. I was drinking a little something, not to get wasted, but I was just like, man, let me take a little edge off. Let me do this and that. I just found myself doing these things that I don't ordinarily do.
Yeah.
I said, why am I doing this? And I knew I must be trying to get some sort of satisfaction. I said, you know what? I'm going to eliminate these things. And whatever feeling that I'm getting from it, I'm going to say, hey, look, God, the emotion that I'm getting from this snack, from this sugar, from this alcohol, I want you to fulfill and give me the same emotion that I would ordinarily get from this so that I don't have to depend on it. Well, do you know how much that empowers that? Because now I don't need the thing.
Right.
I can get it from a source that is ultimate, that is infinite, and I can always lean on that. Now I don't have to lean on or depend on the thing.
Right.
Now I can have my cup filled so that I can go do the things that I'm called to do, radically change my life. That fast. The fasting from those things, or just at least purging those things. So what I would say is, look, we talked about this before, whether that's your belief or not, that's not the most important.
Yeah.
But I would say if you can work, even with some level of accountability, stop the dependence of the distractions in your life that's causing satisfaction. You'll become a stronger person. You'll become a more clear person. You'll become a more confident person.
Yeah.
And it'll have a shift in your life without a doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so true. If we think about it and apply it to anything, that's exactly how it is.
Well, what's happening for me look, I went from what I consider to be a very selfish person who was primarily focused on my success, my needs, my wants, my desires. I don't need those things to be happy or fulfilled. Now most of my life can be focused on, hey man, this question. How can I help you? What do you need?
Right.
And that's what made me have better relationships, made me have better business.
Right.
I won't go into great detail, but it's how I got the opportunity here. It's just how can I help? How can I help you? The relationships that I built with just serving people.
Right.
It's allowed me to sit on boards and have impact in areas I didn't think I would ever be able to do. It becomes a healthier, wealthier, happier life. And when I say wealthy, I mean that wealthy in every aspect of life.
Right. Well, yeah, you have to define wealth. What is wealth?
Yeah.
You have to define success. You have to define happiness. You have to define all of those things, and then come up with a plan and execute. Any closing comments? Anything before I do the classic outro?
No, man. I'm grateful for you, man. I know. That may sound cliche, but I really am grateful for you, dude. You've helped me so much. I mean, we could have an entire another podcast of the times that
and we should
of the times that you've helped me with so many different things, man. Financial stuff, vehicle stuff,
man.
Life stuff, and vice versa. So
speaking of, did you roll up in the
pulled up the new whip, rolled up in the new whip again, thanks to you.
Yeah. No, hey.
So I'm grateful for our relationship. I'd have done anything. we already moved some things around to make sure this could happen.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm real grateful for you, grateful for your family.
I'm grateful for you too, brother.
And I'm glad I get an opportunity to serve.
Yeah.
Not just you, but the people who get a chance to
Absolutely.
watch this.
Yeah.
So grateful for you, grateful for all the people who are watching, and hopefully it had some level of impact that you can take for yourself and possibly share with others.
Yeah. Well, brother, I appreciate you guys listening, watching, however you're digesting this, however you're being exposed to this. If you heard something here that impacted you, if you heard something here that triggered you, that caused you to think different, that got your wheels spinning, if you will, like it, share it, comment. Comment is good. I love commenting.
For sure.
I don't think enough people anymore comment. I think we're becoming lazier.
Yeah.
But comments are good because it's going to give us feedback, and we love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyways, guys, I appreciate it again, Brad. It's been a lot of fun. This is the Closer's Playbook.